task force this year. There's a member of the task force of the big VCA. I mean, was there a theory of change?
Yeah.
And it was a big, some banner.
Or just simply what do you call the log frame? Just what summarizes what was achieved. The theory of change is just the new way of looking at it.
I know. Yeah, we're going to break up it just now, Bernard, in a minute. I want to reflect. Anybody who took a picture of that banner or has that banner somewhere in the library?
Not it was a picture.
You must have taken a picture of that.
No, it is the banner itself.
Yeah. Oh,
It's in one mask. Unless you tell the rest.
He actually went with all of it. It's a good basis for doing this discussion because we want to be so clear on Friday.
Let me see if someone is the
Yes, yeah, about what we can do and what we can't do. I think that has been the exhortation from the speakers here, that we need to be a bit more targeted, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I about what Bernard was saying.
Yes.
Because that was when national speak. For over the entire PCA consortium. And that can inform us what can we absorb, what we can't. Because we have been told at some point maybe one risk is that we have had too much. So maybe a visit to what Mr. Bernard has just shared is that in our side discussion, I think with Bernard, now Bernard Ocheng, and I think at some point even Fred and the people who are doing finance, is that in the writing, and everyone always has it, that we all write something, a winning concept, a winning proposal. But then when we hit the ground, just like the way I think Raina said and everyone, then reality faces us, and we realize we are not Team Sky. We just want to fly and meet targets and deadlines. But ours is to look at creating impact and then living what we call a continuous sustainable voice which can still change. So the aspect towards looking at that and informing our phase 2 is if we could take a quick stock on what are our key deliverables, and then within that, even what the studies have informed in terms of opportunities and even challenges, so that we rationalize our approach to what we can absorb, so that as we take the opportunities which we have learned or we can see, then we are able to say, maybe in phase 2, if you are going to be there for 1 year, for example, you can prioritize on this ABCD within outcome area 1, 2, 3. And then for other things, we can populate them, maybe they are long term, so that we are able to work what you call a rationalized and achievable smart objective or outcome area. But then not forgetting that is that what Nani has shared in the morning, our learned fellow from the Green Movement, is that there are so many terminologies which are going around. But if you see from the reflections yesterday, is that our first year has been more of learning and groundbreaking. Then now building up the voices, we might need to go so much on bringing communities on board, but at the same time be informed strategically on the issues of justice and unpacking. And the running call is localizing climate change. So how do we localize so that we are able to say if people who are working in outcome 1 area, their target is dealing with communities daily, then let us localize this. And then if those who are working maybe within the aspect of research and probably quantifying what you call baselines, where we can say for Yala Swamp, this is where they are. Now we want to talk to them that this is a shared ecosystem. Let us do ABCD so that we are able to localize or delocalize climate action. And then the word just, I think, is something which has been a running call, and people are forgetting it is about just climate, not just climate change. Yeah? So all those, if you start unpacking them, and if we inform by the theory of change for VCA, then we'll be able to look at where are our niche and what can be our comparative advantage, as just said in the morning, so that in our phase 2 we are able to say. But what I like, which is coming out, is that we need to mobilize multi-sectorial people on board so that everyone has a key role to play and to understand what is this journey. So let me check out if we can get the banner taken a photo and then sent, and then now we can be debating with that. So thank you.
Encompass what we can work with in phase 2. Based on the conversations we have had, do we think we need to retweak any of them, or we need to introduce any additional outcome, or do we need to take down any one of the outcomes? I think that's really just brainstorming as we continue to formulate our mind on this. Any quick suggestions? And reflect on what has happened since we started this project. They are not yet fulfilled. That is to begin with. And therefore, it's difficult to say that we have met this outcome 1. Now we need to probably substitute because we have met it. At the point these outcomes were being developed, there were also some context analysis that guided in terms of identifying the 3. And also now bringing in the conversations we have had and gaps that I've seen. Some of the gaps that I captured is what to do, has to do with working with CIDPs more deeply, and reflecting that with the 3 outcomes. It gets into outcome number 2. Another gap that was identified in the reflections we have had is working with Parliament and County Assembly, because we have been told very well that governance is not working, policy actors are difficult, but we are not the policy makers and we are not the government. So therefore, our advocacy with these actors is still important, and we need to get them and work with them. And that also comes in outcome 2, in my view. One element that probably a bit of a reflection on private corporations, who also have a lot of influence and heavy hand on, say, water sector, for instance, is one area that I think we need to strengthen, because again, Agostino challenged us to know who we want to work with or who we are targeting. And I feel that the private corporations or private sector is very big in terms of the work we are doing, and we really did not think about them when we were crafting these outcomes. And therefore, finding a place to fit them in one of these outcome areas will also be important. But I think these objectives are still very relevant. We can tweak, but it may be very difficult to remove them, because there are certain works that have started under the outcome areas which have not yet been fulfilled.
I like your idea, but I'm also hesitant to open up this thing, so that we have so many outcomes that we are working on. So if we can, collapse all these into the 3 main areas and just perhaps tweak them a bit, I think that would work for us. And as we go into these discussions, there's a report which was shared by him. So I don't know if you guys have it. It's a baseline with some very interesting insights. We can also just look at it as we walk around the new areas of output. because the baseline is providing some very, very nice insights on climate change space.
Yes. Thank you. So the consensus, and part of what I told you yesterday is my role is to manipulate what you're saying.
Get some ideas from
yes, I will get. The consensus seems to be that it is smart to retain the three outcomes. Is that okay? It makes sense. Again, if you look at our structure, we are only three partners. And I think we also need to be able to design something where assigning responsibility is easy. Right? But there is value in looking at outcome 3 afresh, so just so that we bring in some missing legs of that stool. Because outcome 3 initially just picked water. And that's where we research water for purposes of developing campaign models around that. There is value in developing that outcome so that it includes campaigns that focus on the shared ecosystem, but it also includes campaigns that focus on the people who cause the problems, because they are investors in water and so on and so forth, which is what you mentioned with private sector. And so then that also brings the transitions that were being discussed here around energy and all those other things. So that anytime we have things like that, outcome 3 would be the place where we anchor them. And that outcome 3 is given leadership by one of the institutions of the consortium, just like outcome 2 and outcome 1. Now, within the design model, then we must think about activities that we do together in all the outcomes, and activities that sometimes may be led by individual institutions. So basically that is the kind of thinking I'd like us to engage with, considering how the discussions have taken place.
The discussions on ecological jurisprudence index, and now we are also talking about public interest litigation. I think that could stand separately as an objective. So this thing that deals with judiciary, the court, the paralegals, cases, and all that spectrum, I think we, in this current phase, we had lumped it in outcome 2. But I don't know whether I'm making sense in what I'm saying, whether we need to separate, and what is the essence of even separating it when we have worked with it under outcome 2. Maybe Fred, you can have some reflections on that.
I would imagine that we come into the consortium with the diverse capabilities, and so we all contribute something into the objective of this project. So I would suggest that perhaps we need to now go back into institutions and then look at the objectives and say we can better contribute to this 1 or 2 or 3 objectives, and this is how we are going to do it, and through the outputs that you would have already visualized. So that for me would provide a better framework to go about all this. And my second issue is that like the consensus said that the first year was more of learning and also unlearning. So for me is to consolidate the gains that we made, see where there was a gap, and identify means of addressing those gaps, so that as we move forward, we strengthen on the realization of the full realization of the objectives of the project. That's what I would say.
Thank you.